So I wanted to go over how to create a histogram using Microsoft Excel. I believe this is the 2013 edition of Excel. What I've got here is some data that is actually median family income from the U.S. Census Bureau by state, also through in the District of Columbia. If you scroll down here, oops, look at that. And District of Columbia plus Puerto Rico is down here as well. So there's actually 50 states plus Puerto Rico and District of Columbia. What I want to do is create a histogram of this data. So I'm going to go over how to do that. So I'm going to go to data. Now what I'm looking for is I hope to see a data analysis sort of command here. Typically that's on the far right. But I have to do an add-in to be able to do that if that's not already sort of loaded up, which a lot of times it may be. So you may just see data analysis here, but if I need to load that up, what I need to do is go to File, and then go to Options. And then from Options, I want to pick out Add-ins over here. So I pick out Add-ins, and I'm looking for Analysis Tool Pack. It's the first one listed here. So I highlight that, and then I go to Go. So I highlight this. This is inactive, means it's not sort of loaded in right now. I go to Go, and then I'm going to click on just Analysis Tool Pack and hit OK. And it doesn't look like anything happened, but if I click on this data tab here, now I have data analysis as an option here. So that's really what I want to go to. Again, the first thing I would generally do is go to data and see if data analysis is here. If it is, you just use that. If not, you have to go to that add-in thing to add it in. On my particular computer, this data analysis stays. I had actually turned it off to do the video here. But sometimes things will just erase to default and things. So you may have to do that every time. Okay, so now what we want to do a histogram. So when you get the data analysis, so just click on this. A bunch of different sort of options here. And to do a histogram, I pick the one that says histogram. So here it says histogram. Hit OK. It's going to ask me for an input range. I'm going to click on that icon. I go back to show you what I did. So there's sort of this go and select sort of your range here. So I click on this. You could type in the range in certain ways as well. You don't need to do that. Click here, and I'm just going to get sort of my white cross on B1. I'm not going to highlight the states, just the numbers. The white cross I'm going to highlight, and then I just click, hold the click, and drag down until I highlight everything, all of the numbers here. And then I click sort of this back button to say that's what I wanted. Now here we've got B1 to B52. You could have typed this in if you understood the notation for that, and that would have worked out just fine. Okay, so this really isn't going to do a histogram just yet. It's going to do a frequency distribution. The histogram I want the chart, so I need to make sure I click on this chart output box here. Select that. We can do this Pareto. You don't really need to do that. Cumulative percentage, we're going to skip as well, but another option. This bin range we could put in. We'll do that in a bit. That's going to tell us sort of what our classes are, the categories of how we split up the numbers. You can decide to put those in. Otherwise, Excel will do this automatically for you. Okay. Oh, another option here is you can have the output range. This is going to be a new worksheet. You can do a new workbook, which is sort of like a file. The new worksheet will be down here. I've got sheet 1. It'll give me a sheet 2 here. Or I can do an output range and have this output on the actual sheet I'm in now. I tend to just do the new worksheet option, hit OK. Note I was on sheet 1. This goes to sheet 4. I was doing some things before with this file, so it already used sheet 2 and sheet 3, which I deleted, but it's still keeping track of sheet 4. That may go to sheet 2 for you. Okay, so what we get as output is we get, I'm going to make this zoom in a little bit, make this just a little bit bigger and easier to read. We get really our frequency distribution. So what we're saying is there is one state or territory, actually it was Puerto Rico, that has a median, I think it's household income of 19,183 or less. So actually it was exactly 19,183. So there's one in that category. The next category is the 42025. It says 0.9. All of the original numbers are whole numbers, but Excel chooses ranges with some kind of decimals. If you click on this cell, you can see up here that's actually 42.025, 0.857142, 857,142. I'm betting this decimal is actually 6/7. For some reason, that's what Excel is choosing to do. But it's basically $42,025. It said there were 3 states with median incomes between $42,025 and $34,411. And then there's 19, then from 42,025 or above 42,025, so 42,026 up to 49,640. And then you get the actual histogram over here, the actual chart. You can drag and make this bigger. It seems like they're small to me. One thing I kind of like to do here is if you right click, you sort of highlight over one of these. Well, let's just click on it so you can kind of highlight the bars here. So I sort of have these highlight circle things around all of the bars. And then if you right click, you can go to add data labels. If I hit add data labels, it'll actually put the totals on top of each bar, which can be nice, so I don't have to be looking at this. So if I want to undo that, I can click up here or hit Control Z, and it tells me Control Z. So if I undo that, the issue I have, the way this is okay, in this range, how many are there? Well, I've got to kind of read over here, and is that 10? Is it 11? Is it 9? Maybe I don't trust my eyes to go completely straight over there with no line. Note if I hover over this, this says value 10, but if you we're going to print this, you wouldn't be able to get the value 10 there. And so that's one reason why you might want to add the data labels here. So then it just says 10 above. So even if you print this out, easy to read. Okay, so that's a basic histogram. We had Excel choose the bins. Let's do an example where you choose the bins yourself. So instead of these kind of ugly decimals here, what we can do, I'm going to go to the top, you can actually put this anywhere, is I'm going to put the numbers that I want to sort of be the dividing numbers. So let's go by $10,000. I'm going to start with 10,000, and then I'm going to do 20,000. I could do 30,000. Note with Excel, if I highlight these 2 cells, and I go down here to the lower right and click, so I get the black cross. If I click and drag, Excel's going to kind of continue that pattern. So there you can see it says 30,000, 40,000, 50. Let's go up to, I don't know, 80,000. If you look at the actual histogram, the last category is always more than this last number. So this is more than 64,868. There are apparently 7 states in that range. So even if there were states that go up into the above 80,000, that it would just show up in that more category, which is fine. Okay, so now what I'm going to do to create my histogram, I'm going to go to Data, hit the Data Analysis, go to Histogram. Note that's highlighted because it's the last thing I did. Note my input range is still highlighted. Often you'd have to hit this button, go here, highlight this range that's sort of highlighted, and then hit this button back. We already did that. The bin range, you can click and show you that process. I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to click on 10,000, hold down my click, drag until I get to, 80,000. I'm going to sort of go back there, or you could have typed in the E1:E8. The dollar signs aren't really necessary. And then I just click OK. Note it, Excel remembers I want to chart output. You may have to hit that to get the actual graph. And then I hit OK. New workbook. I'm going to make this one bigger again just so we can see it a little bit better. Note what this is saying is we had one state, or well, Puerto Rico or District of Columbia, with an average income of 20,000 or less, median family, I think median household income. So that's Puerto Rico. You had one state with a median household income of 40,000 or less, 21, so not 40,000 or less, between 30,000 and 40,000. You had 21 states between 40,000 and 50,000, 18 between 50,000 and 60,000, and so on. Note we got a 0 for the more, means this 80,000 is actually big enough to get all of the data here, which is kind of nice. You're not worried about how much more is it. And there's your chart, which is pretty much done. I'm going to go ahead and put the data labels on again, because again, like I look at this number, it pops up and it says it's 18. But if I'm looking at that's here and I go over, it's not quite clear how many there are. Sometimes that's useful information. Sometimes we just want the general idea of there's clumps of these here and there. So I'm going to go to Add Data Labels. Choose Add Data Labels, so I get 2118. Another formatting thing, if you double click on these, it'll pop up sort of this formatting box here. You can do a lot of formatting with the chart with this series, well, this drop-down box here. So you can play around with the chart area, chart title, a whole bunch of other things. Let's see, the one I want to deal with, actually want this Let's say I want to deal with the, I'm actually not sure which one it is. Let's do the series frequency. So that's actually these boxes here. Now notice how it's got the one highlighted. That makes me nervous. I'm going to just click here. Didn't actually have to go through this drop-down box, but just want to show you there's other things there. You can also click up here on Format, and you get certain options, or on Design, and you get some other options there. So sometimes you might want to do things like that. But anyway, I'm here. I'm going to go over to this sort of bar chart looking thing. And one thing you can do that's just nice to really do is change this gap width. So here we've got kind of big wide open spaces here. Visually, you can reduce that. So if you don't like the 150, well, I was trying to get a whole number, but suppose 36, it just narrows the gap there. Sometimes I like to make that even 0, so I can look at that. That'll be something we'll use later on. The issue with the 0, if you look at this, is it kind of merges up, and it looks kind of like a big blob here in a certain sense. To take care of that, I'll often click on this. Whoops, I got to highlight this again. So it highlights all of these boxes, and then I click on this paint can thing. I can deal with the fill or the border. So the issue now is the fill and the border are the same color. So I'm going to do border solid line. Right now you notice it's got that sort of blue here. So really what's happening is Excel is doing a rectangle in blue, and then it's painting the rectangle in the same color, so you can't really tell the difference between the rectangles. So if I make my outside black here, it's my border, you now get black outside, so you can tell the difference in where the bars are. You could have also gone to fill, do solid fill. Whoops. No, I didn't want to do that. I had the wrong thing highlighted. So I'm going to do undo. So this was the plot area. I actually want the series frequency. And then I can go to solid fill. And now it's filling with this blue color. So you could pick a different color. How about, let me get on here, standard. How about red? And it makes those boxes red here. So you could do the, you really only need to change one or the other. You can pick whatever colors you want. Sometimes the blue and black is nice, and you can play around with those. But that should get us how to do a histogram in Excel.